An incredible moment. It was indeed a moment of tremendous transformation. And it was like getting reborn. You know why? Because the mikvah, the ritual bath, obviously is a symbol of the mother's womb. There you're also completely surrounded by water, and you get out and you get born. Here the same thing happens. You get totally immersed in water till over your head, and you come out again and you're a new person. You have to make a special bracha, a special blessing at the time. And that's the way how you suddenly got 1 hour age. You may be 60 like I was. You may be 70. At this moment you're just born. And now you have to understand this. It doesn't mean to say that you just drop into that water and you immerse yourself and you get out. Then suddenly you are Jewish. Because how would that work? Somebody just would jump into a lot of water and get out and say, now I'm Jewish? What kind of transformation is that? What happened to you? That's much too easy. And it doesn't make any sense either. What it means is this. That there is something what I call, for a lack of a better word, incubation time. Just like there's 9 months within the mother's womb, where things get settled, born, struggled, war. On the end of the 9 months, the child gets born. The same is true, my dear friends, with somebody who wants to convert. It takes at least 9 months, if not longer than that. Because you really have to work hard on this. This is not just getting into the water and getting out again, because that is completely inauthentic. To make it authentic, it means to say that you really know what you're doing, you're feeling it. It is something of a tremendous spiritual transformation and experience. Human beings, I once wrote, are not a mass of plasma. They are not just complicated robots. We are souls, neshamot. We are people with tremendous deep emotions, and all these matters at that moment, they count when you start to get involved in that. You can't do these things just like that overnight. But what it also means, my friends, and that's the reason why I called this lecture by the name, is an Orthodox conversion kosher. And it may sound strange that I say this when I say, I'm not sure. I'm not a Reform rabbi. I'm not a conservative rabbi. If I'm Orthodox, I'm not sure about either. I somehow are above these struggles, I would dare to say. But I live a halachic life. And I love it. And I will have much more to be say about it in the next few lectures. But obviously, if it is a transformation, then not even, and I hope you hear well what I say, what we call in Hebrew, Kabbalat HaMitzvot, the taking on yourself to observe all the commandments, I would dare to say that is also not maspik. That is not sufficient. Because just to add to your life a lot of deeds, which the halakha requires from us, when we make that particular move, and if that does not go along hand in hand with that deep transformation, I'm not sure that what giyur, what conversion is all about, has really been achieved. Because it has to come from within. And then afterwards it spreads out. And it starts to influence your deeds, your ma'asim, to all what you have, what you can do, the mitzvot which we have. And then at that very hour and that very moment, you can really speak about the conversion. It is much more than just asking the person, are you going to keep and indeed look after all the commandments in the Torah, the biblical commandments, the rabbinical commandments? There are much deeper issues taking place over here. At the same time, on the other side, what does it mean? Because conversion also means that one joins the Jewish people. Is it like taking on an Israeli passport? A Jewish passport? Are you just called a Jew and that's all what it is? Or because you live in the land of Israel? or you serve in the Israeli army. I tell you again, and I speak once more from own experience, to use an expression of Immanuel Kant, one of the great German philosophers, it is not das Ding an sich, for those who know what it means. It is not the thing itself. Kabbalat mitzvot and becoming Jewish and joining the Jewish people are the external dimensions of an inner process. And that inner process, each one of us, each one in our own way, will have to find that way to do that before we can speak about authenticity. And my friends, authenticity is the most important word in religious living. And we have totally forgotten about it today because it all became behavior. It all became behaviorism, just following the rules of the game without understanding the music, the art, the whole interesting, very complicated music behind that particular moment when we take on these commandments. Or when we join the Jewish people. You know what it means? To become Jewish means that you join a mission. First of all, a mission to be a light to the nations. It means to say that you remind the world that people live in the presence of God. It means to say that you're constantly working on yourself. It means that you're looking for kedusha, holiness, sanctity in life. That every moment, every trivial moment takes place in the presence of God, which, and another time I will speak more about that there are no such things in life as trivialities. Because whatever takes place in God, in front of the presence of God, means that it cannot be trivial. Because it is a moment in the presence of the Almighty. How can that be trivial? That's, by the way, the reason why the halakha, I'm sorry to tell you, interferes in everything and anything. To the point that sometimes you get crazy from it. But the reason why that is exactly for that reason. Every second takes place in the presence of God. And therefore every second needs to be sanctified. And if every moment needs to be sanctified, then you need to know how to do this. This is art. Greater than Rembrandt. Greater than Mozart and Beethoven and Paganini. That's what it means. And therefore it is difficult to be a Jew. But it's also fantastically great because it is music beyond what Beethoven, Paganini and the others have to offer. But you have to hear the music. Not just play the music just by repeating what other people have played before. This, forgive me for saying so, is the reason why I have problems with the Orthodox rabbinate. I don't like when they ask, as they asked me as well, do you know exactly how to observe Shabbat? Do you know exactly how to make a cup of coffee on Shabbat? Whether you're allowed to open a frigidaire on Shabbat, yes or no? And I tell you once more, all of these questions are extremely important if you hear the music. But if the Beit Din doesn't ask, the rabbinical courts don't ask you about, did you hear the music? What does that music mean to you? How much did you struggle with that music? How much is it part of your life? All the whole concept of the mission of the Jewish people behind that, the ideas of kedusha, of holiness, of tahara, of purity. If all these matters are not being asked and we just ask the people, are you keeping in according to what we call in Hebrew the Shulchan Aruch, the codex of Jewish law, I think we have lost half of it, if not more of it. We are the children of Abraham and Sarah, and they struggled with God. And to be a Jew means to struggle with God, and never to get out of that struggle. You have to discover God. And you can't inherit that either. It's a big mistake to believe that you can inherit religion. You can only discover it yourself. Your parents can give you the best Jewish education, but if you are not on your own going to discover it, then you're just a repetition of your parents. That's not authenticity. That's not what it is all about. And therefore I'm telling you, it is serious, serious stuff when we speak about conversion. By the way, that's the reason, I spoke once more about that in Limud some years ago, why it took such a long time for God to give the Torah.